Welcome to the first of a new run of Kits and Cruising. In this series we'll see a car through from concept to production, as well as the usual mix of the weird and the wonderful. The Belver is the latest design from the pen of John Raffo, and whereas previous cars have been designed for racetrack use, this is a first and very successful attempt at a road car, using lessons learned from their racetrack experience. And we've got the first test drive, which means I get to have a go.
Whilst the exterior of the car might be all smooth flowing lines, the drive is a raw experience indeed. This feels like a proper sports car. The pedals are hard to feel but responsive and communicative, and the steering is almost indecently quick, perhaps even too quick for use on the road, and it will be modified shortly so that turn-in isn't perhaps quite so ferocious. Other modifications from the car that I'm driving include the gearbox, which is going to be a slightly longer throw. At the moment it's very short and very quick indeed, but overall the feeling is of very much a planted car. I doubt the grip would run out before I ran out of nerve. With this much power in a car weighing just this much, you would expect performance to be brisk, and it is. Takeoff from a standing start is incredibly fast. Interestingly, in this car, it's fitted, though, with a 2-litre engine with a 1.8 diff. Effectively, that means the car is geared almost too low. It's very quick from takeoff, but perhaps runs out of breath. Having said that, it's estimated that 154 miles an hour is still possible, even before it's geared up, though I reckon probably 140 is more realistic. Either way, I'm not about to find out on the road.
The interior is simple, but pretty well equipped for what is, after all, a car with a pretty raw sporting blueprint. The instruments are laid out neatly in the centre of the dash. Above them is the stereo, immediately to hand and pretty much where you want it. And that's the story for the whole of the interior, really. Ergonomically, it's very sensible. Everything falls immediately to hand. And there are neat storage bins in the doors as well. Yes, you're thinking about the muck, I know. Well, I'm sure it'll clean off. These gull-wing doors are more than just a styling feature, although they do look great. They actually make it pretty easy to get in and out of, which is important because it could be quite cramped. Moving to the front of the car, this little spoiler here provides a handy little place for the driving lamps. Then we've got these massively flared and accentuated front arches that has the headlamps, tapering down into what is quite a sexy shape with a narrow little waist here and these nicely flared hips at the back. And then this lid under which we find not only engine, which propels the beastie, but a rather useful boot.
So it's gorgeous, fast and cheap to run. It must be expensive then, right? Well, no. Fully built and with aircon fitted as standard, the Belver will set you back a very reasonable £21,000 plus VAT. The kit costs £6,000 plus VAT, of course, and includes everything you need, barring donor components. So you're looking at a build cost starting at around £11,000.
And of course, we reckon you'll get a lot more than your 11 grand back once you've completed it and it comes time to sell it on. All round, it adds up to make it a pretty indecently attractive proposal. We've sent the lovely Virginia Baker running around the country in search of owners' special cars. So Virginia, where are you this week?
Well, hello Richard. This week I'm in my hometown of Nantwich to meet an owner and his car. And believe me, this is something quite impressive. This is John, and with him is his amazing piece of machinery. Can you talk me around it?
Yes, well, the car itself is a 1948 Ford. It's completely modified, whereas the body shell is the only thing which is original on the car. Everything has been modernised. The engine itself is a Chevrolet 5.7 litre with tune port fuel injection, a Ford Mustang back axle, automatic, digital dash, full leather interior, and all the wheels are billet aluminium And as you can see, everything is shaved on the car. No door handles, no chrome or any accessories like that.
Why is that?
It's just one of the features we do to the car to make them a little bit different from everybody else's, which is what customising and street rods are all about.
Now this car is in pristine condition. What sort of reaction do you get from the public?
Well, when you drive it down the road, obviously people do look at the car. I mean, it's can't really be missed. The colours are quite a statement, really. Everybody does look at it when you're driving anywhere.
You must spend an awful lot of time, your spare time, with the car. What does your wife think?
She doesn't mind. It is a hobby I've had for a long time, and we go, as I say, we both go away together everywhere we go. So she really enjoys it. You know, when we go to the States, we obviously don't take the car with us, but we go to car shows in the States, and she likes them as well. So yeah.
Nice trips and holidays for her then.
Yeah, trips and holidays, and yeah, good stuff. Yeah, we both enjoy it.
So if I wanted to get myself involved with a hot rod, what's the next thing I should be doing?
Go and see the bank manager.
Pen Roberts visited GTM to check out one of the industry's most polished pocket rockets.
To look at it, you wouldn't think that the GTM K3 Rossa had evolved from a car that was made back in 1967. It was the GTM Coupe then, made by Cox Engineering. Nowadays, it's made in Loughborough. Still mid-engined, still very, very pretty.
You get into this beautiful cockpit. It's very, very clean, very compact, but very ergonomically sound. All the switches are in the right place, gear levers nicely positioned, steering wheel beautifully angled towards you. Not bad at all so far, you might think. Seating could do with a bit of improvement, but I believe that this is on the cards. Once in action, the power really shows itself up. 103 brake horsepower from the 1.4 GTI Metro K-Series engine is superbly transmitted through the transmission. Some people might find the gear lever a bit notchy. Myself, I found it to be good and positive. I liked it, to be honest, and the heating and ventilation when I drove the car on a foul day were absolutely perfect. So, could you live with a GTM Rossa K3 every day? Well, personally I could. You can get quite a lot of luggage in here. Apparently you can get 2 sets of golf clubs in, according to the lads at factory, but there again I wouldn't fancy putting my Mars bars and Twix behind here. Rover must know a thing or two, because they actually borrowed the car to have a good look at whilst they were developing what is now known as the MGF. Unlike many rear-engined or stroke mid-engine cars, the front has no luggage capacity whatsoever. The space in here is taken up with bits of suspension, spare wheel, and of course the battery. You might get a toothbrush in here if you're lucky.
If you like the looks of the GTM Rossa K3, which I do, you'll find that one of these in kit form costs you £5,346, including the VAT. For £6,500, you've got a complete car and you're on the road. At that kind of money, you can buy 3 of those for the price of an MGF. Let's face it, everybody and their hairdresser's got one of those.
Deceptive, isn't it? Bigfoot, this ain't. This is Lilfoot. This is Donald Stead, and he owns Lilfoot. So, how did this car come about?
Well, it all happened about 12 years ago when Bob Chandler had his Bigfoot, the big massive truck that crushes cars, and it appeared on our telly like 12 years ago. And I taped it, and my mate were down at the time, and on this programme there was some, they looked like go-karts with fiberglass bodies on top, with little truck bodies on top, and I said to my mate, I want to make one of those, because I can't afford to make the real thing, the big massive thing, but I'll definitely have a go at making the small one.
What about the bodywork then? What is it actually made of?
Well, the body is actually made out of 2 sheets of 8x4 aluminium, and to do this I used 2 pieces of angle iron, 2 4-inch G-clamps and a vise.
That doesn't really mean a lot to me.
No, it's just against the shape in it.
So do you just drive it like a normal car? It's got accelerator, brake?
Accelerator, brake, clutch, reverse, just like a normal car. It's just a little bit cramped, but we can manage it.
And how do you get in it? Because I noticed that the door handle doesn't actually work.
No, well, the whole lot is tilted at this inch at the front. The whole lot lifts up at the front. A bit like the old Bond bugs, if anybody remembers them. They used to lift up, the old Bond bug. And two of us can get it quite easy and drive up.
Right, Donald, can you talk me through the controls, please?
Yeah, well, what you have here is your ignition,
Right.
your starter. You've got your accelerator, brake, clutch.
Right.
And this nice little shiny thing is your gear lever.
And how many gears has it got?
It's got 4 forwards and 1 reverse, just like, you know, like a normal car.
Right, okay.
You're gonna go in it now, are you?
Me? I'm not driving it, am I?
Yeah.
You're joking?
I'm not joking.
Oh my God.
It's all right.
Oh my God. Watch out! This is the roughest journey I've ever had in my life. Absolutely brilliant, that is. Quite frightening though, you wouldn't believe it. Oh my Lord. Anyway, I think I better leave it to the professionals.
So there you have it. Donald has proved that if you really want to, you can make something totally unique. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Kits and Cruisin is all about.
In part 2, Cathy drives the YKC Romero and we pay a visit to the N.A.S.C Hot Rod Nationals. This year, the N.A.S.C will hold the 25th Hot Rod Nationals. To give you a little taster, here are some highlights of last year's show. Neil Meredith.
Welcome to the N.A.S.C Street Rod Nationals. Over this weekend you'll see a variety of machinery and events. There'll be the Top Rod Slalom, there'll be the Show and Shine. The N.A.S.C was formed in 1974 as a way of getting together all the street rod and custom car clubs in the country under one umbrella organisation. We've grown over the years to what we are now, the largest street rod association and custom car club in Europe. We host several of our own events and we help other clubs running in their individual club events. We have 72 clubs in our membership. We have over 2,500 members and we've been growing now steadily for the last 21 years. We hope that as the sport grows, we will grow too.
My name's Jack. And my name's Daniel, and yeah, it is my dad's favourite drink. Well, we all know what's in it for our dads.
But what's in it for us kids?
Well, there are top rods.
This is a 1934 Ford top rod, which I built for my children. Basically, it's a fiberglass shell, which is built on top of a custom chassis. What we have here is a chrome drop tube, stainless steel, steering, rose jointed, working shock absorbers, fully independent suspension. Right, what we have here is a Honda 5 horsepower engine, a gear reduction system for the larger wheels. We have stainless steel axle and go-kart components.
We do get to look around.
Well, we always get to see the cars that Dad builds for others.
Come on, Dad.
First time it came out, we did a lot of hours on it. We did 2 weeks flat out on it to get it finished for a show, which we only just made in time. We finished at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. He took it to the show on a Saturday. It was the first show it's ever been to. It won 2 awards.
1999 is our Silver Jubilee. It's also the 25th Street Rod Nationals. Now, we've spent most of the year organising this year's Nationals and a lot of our time organising next year's. We know that next year's event at the Essex County Showground is going to be the biggest European custom car show ever.
Those
Those of you that saw our Stoneleigh reports will remember this, the YKC Romero. If not, where were you? Anyway, today we're going to take a closer look. The turbocharged engine pulled this light Romero along with great gusto. The ride was surprisingly soft, but didn't stop the car from handling corners with aplomb. Behind the wheel, the cockpit's a bit tight, but legroom is great. Everything fell to hand nicely in this quaint little interior. Of course, the Romero evokes an image of a bygone era. Somehow though, it still looks bang up to date, and the driving experience is right up to the highest modern levels too. This demonstrator is powered by the same 1.8 litre turbo that powers the Nissan 200X to 140 miles per hour. Aerodynamics stop the Romero achieving that, but it uses very low weight to gain startling acceleration. So, what do we think of the Romero? Well, looks and quality are spot on, and the new wings are a lot easier to fit than those of the Roadster, although this is still the most difficult part of the car to build. Other than that, I would say YKC are onto a winner.
Having looked at what was available at the budget end of the kit car market, Ian Pettinger decided there was room for a new design. Over the next 3 weeks, Kits and Cruisin will follow this process from the design through to the prototype stage, seeing how they keep the project within budget, press reaction, and finally, our first drive. But let's go back to the beginning with Ian.
I'm interested to pursue an idea I've had about a monocoque chassis. The things that I see in the marketplace are not particularly well executed.
Ian saw this as the perfect way to use the specialist expertise of his company. He had the facilities, but now needed an engineer to design his chassis. Status, an engineering consultancy within Manchester University, recommended Steve Greenwood. Today, Ian will meet Steve to discuss his ideas. It's important that the project follows a strict budget. Ian is no sentimental car enthusiast. This is purely a business venture.
Hello, Steve.
Right, nice to put a face to the name.
Yeah, come on then. Right. I've got quite a scheme in mind. My concept for the project is that every single hole is in the chassis and it's in the right place.
Yes.
If the customer has to drill a hole in metal components, if they have to file them, well, I see it that we've failed.
Steve Greenwood is now based at the premises of Stainless Products, and now they're heavily involved in the design process. Even at this early stage, Ian and Steve meet regularly. Every bracket and structural member is scrutinised to make sure that it can be produced and productionised within budget.
Which I thought may be a problem with the engine in its installation, but it's actually better. And another change I want to put into is that following the test, I think we can improve stiffness, overall stiffness, by adding a panel in here. It's going to be a multifunctional panel, so we can do a lot of things within the same unit cost. So we'll get rid of this bracket.
I was always
here.
unhappy about that.
It means by taking that off, we can get the engine and gearbox in as one without any problems.
Having agreed on this particular solution, Ian and Steve look at the first component made with this new tooling.
Okay.
You can see it avoids the engine. We've increased its torsional rigidity by having this as a bolt down, and we've just got the very basic shape of a damper mounting in there. And then to cut the unit cost of the bracket overall, we're going to have the clips for the radiator top mount made from the same piece. We'll have some fold-ups for the expansion tank, and we're going to be able to use the Sierra standard expansion tank. And then we'll have another fold-up here to hold the top hose to keep it away from the damper. So I think we've done fairly well to clear up that area.
So within this one unit, we've incorporated 4 or 5 different features?
Yes.
Excellent.
Next week, we see the project through to the prototype stage.
Hello, my name's Jeremy Denis and this is my Model T Ford street rod. When I was at school, I worked for a firm called John Unsworth Racing, who built dragsters and custom wheels, and had a Saturday job. And the owner of John Unsworth Racing had a Model T Ford hot rod, and it took me out for riding it, and I thought, that's it, I've got to have one. So I spent the next quite a few years saving up for money and started building my own. It's taken me about 15 years to build, and because I've built absolutely everything myself, the chassis, the suspension, the body out of aluminium, the radiator pedals, everything. And it looks like it does because in the 60s, hot rodders started building hot rods sort of weird shapes. They were called weirdos because they were sort of unusual shapes and very sculptured looking shapes. And I've always been into those sort of things from the 60s, people like Carl Casper and George Barris and people. And that's why it looks like it does, really.
If you'd like further details of anything you've seen featured in this or any other programme in the Kits and Cruising series, then please send a self-addressed envelope and 2 first-class stamps to Kits and Cruising Fact Sheet, Menor Motors, Granada Television, Key Street, Manchester, M60 9EA. Remember to put the programme number in the top left-hand corner of your envelope.
This is a Fiat 500, it's called the Mouse. It's got a full space frame chassis, 5.7 litre Chevrolet engine and a 700R4 gearbox, which is basically a 4-speed American automatic that's been modified for a manual stick shift. I first saw the shell of it sitting at a friend's workshop over in Erith, and I had a look at it and thought I'd like to put a V8 in it for a bit of a laugh. It started off as a joke, but it just gradually got more and more serious as it went on.
Next week on the show, Penn gets to grips with the fast, delicious and wonderful Ultima. And no. You have got to be kidding. There is no way. No, I refuse. No, please.